So you think that what everyone else is doing is your expectation as well. And that's why that satisfaction does not exist, because you are actually looking for satisfaction in expectation which are not yours.
Hello and Assalamu everyone, and welcome to the 11th episode of Let's Talk Pakistan, a podcast where we discuss everything from global issues to tech updates. So recently I read a quote by one of the greatest German philosophers, Friedrich Nietzsche, and this inspired me to produce this episode. He said, "We do not ask how it came to be. Instead, we rejoice in the present fact as though it came to us out of the ground by magic." He added, "No one can see in the work of the artist how it has become." और इसने इसकी वजह भी बताई कि हम ऐसा क्यों करते हैं. उसने कहा, "Our vanity, our self-love, promises the cult of the genius. For if we think of genius as something magical, we are not obliged to compare ourselves and find ourselves lacking. To call something divine means, here there is no need to compete." नीचा जो इधर बात कर रहा है ना, वो साइकोलॉजिस्ट और सोशियोलॉजिस्ट के मुताबिक ग्रिट के बारे में कर रहे हैं. Grit is something which comprises of two things, passion and perseverance. Today I have with me Mr. Osama Ahmed, who is a sociologist, and he is going to talk to us about grit. और वो आज हमें समझाएंगे कि इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट होता है सोसाइटी के ऊपर. अस्सलाम वालेकुम एंड वेलकम टू द पॉडकास्ट. उसामा भाई, कैसे हैं आप?
थैंक यू. बिल्कुल ठीक, आप सुनाएं.
Perfect. So Osama bhai, today we are going to learn about something from you, which is grit. Please आप पहले थोड़ा सा इंट्रोडक्शन करें, grit होती क्या है?
Basically, like, great, the concept of great is, it's not a very mainstream concept like which will you come across in sociology every day, but it's something like which has negative connotations as well in sociological circles, because usme wo class dynamics sort of come in, because they sort of try to undermine someone's achievement or something like that. But grit basically is how determined you are, or how nicely you sort of face challenges in difficult times, how you're sort of able to come out of that things. And probably that's why grit, the concept or the phenomenon of grit, is more of related to the people who belong to lesser classes of the society, because they used to are generally faced with more problems. And when you're faced with more problems, you require more perseverance, you require more strength, determination to achieve your goals. So that's why grit is something which is, I do feel, is inbuilt in every human being. It's irrespective of whether you are from a good background or a bad economic background, or from a low class or a high class, but it's something like which is inbuilt in everyone, because like if somebody is somebody kidnaps you, or somebody tries to kill you, for instance, the human being's ultimate response is that it tries to save itself. It responds back, despite how weak you are, despite how difficult it might be for you to overcome that situation, but you try to fight it off. Same is with human life, despite how many hardships that come your way, whether it's with your education, or whether it's with your career, whether it's with finances, relationships, anything. So like human tendencies to fight back. So like it's an inbuilt phenomena in every human being. For some it is greater, for some it is lesser, but it's a thing that exists in the human being of fighting back, to which you can call determination, grit, or whatever you like. But that's what basically grit is: the ability to stand up to challenges and being able to uh, fight them face to face, or at least making your effort, because effort is the sort of thing which is in your hand. Nothing more than an effort to fight something which is not in your hands you can do.
Perfect. Thank you so much for explaining it. Basically, जो basically हुआ ये कि how I came upon this topic is very interesting because मैं आजकल jobs वगैरह apply कर रहा था तो I saw these LinkedIn पे मैं I was surfing around and I saw some post by a person who had actually graduated in history from Oxford University. He said कि I've been applying for the last 2 years, ठीक है, और उसको job नहीं मिल रही, और recently उसको job मिली है. His post was about criticizing the United Nations internship program, ठीक है. वो कहता है कि 2 साल बाद I've finally found the job, और वो internship मिली है मुझे 6 महीने की UN में, and it's not paid, ठीक है. तो उसका point कुछ और था, but like how I thought about it was कि he tried for 2 years, right? और उसके बाद I simultaneously I was reading this book by a psychologist, an American psychologist, Angela Duckworth. She is the one who is said to actually she is one of those people who actually started this whole dynamics, or उसने define किया था
concept of grit.
grit. Yeah, she actually basically grit. The concept of grit existed before that, but she tried to actually
But she
measure.
mainstreamed it.
Yeah, she measured it, और उन्होंने एक ग्रेड
Yeah.
का टेस्ट बनाया, और उन्होंने she did a lot of research. So उनकी एक बुक है, I was reading that book, और so उसमें I'm simultaneously searching for jobs, और मैं ये बुक पढ़ता हूँ तो मुझे एक आइडिया आता है कि there's this idea के determination or passion. Basically these are the two things that she defines grit as, ठीक है. तो although it is quite individual एक चीज है, it's a more of a psychological concept, but I believe grit is something though sociology से भी बहुत related है. So मैंने सोचा कि आपके साथ पहले we'll discuss what grit is, और बाद में उसके sociological implications और sociological impacts और symptoms को हम डिस्कस कर सकते हैं कि either grit is something that is inherent to for example एक scientist हैं, she's worked a lot on grit actually. She's a sociologist, उनका नाम है हाई क्वान. Yeah, so she's
Yeah.
written almost 3 to 4 papers on grit, right? तो उनके मैं papers पढ़ा था, तो she talked about how the social economic factors actually determine grit in a person. तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्सेप्ट है. मुझे आया कि फॉर एग्जांपल आपने भी बात किया कि ग्रेट इज समथिंग which is something that's there in the lower classes, right? Sociologically socioeconomic causes में grit is something that's there in the lower classes, but at the same time when we think about grit, we think about some of the major people in the society, right? For example, एंजेला डकवर्थ ने एक एक थ्योरी उनकी बुक में एक साइंसदान थे, अमेरिकन हार्वर्ड प्रोफेसर थे, सोशियोलॉजी साइकोलॉजिस्ट थे. वो उन्होंने इस पे रिसर्च की, उसको कहते हैं ट्रेडमिल एनालिसिस, ठीक है. व्हाट ही डिड वाज ही इज वन ऑफ द पायनियर्स जिन्होंने क्वांटिफाई किया था ग्रेड को, ठीक है. व्हाट ही डिड वाज ही टुक दिस अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल फ्रॉम आई डोंट नो द नंबर ऑफ पीपल ही टुक. उन्होंने उनको ट्रेडमिल पे भगाया, ठीक है. और what he did was कि उन्होंने देखा कि थकने के बाद एक सर्टेन टाइम लिमिट जो एवरेज थकने की होती है, उसके बाद कितने लोग kept on doing this running, ठीक है. which was very interesting because he found that a lot of people could not do it, ठीक है. और काफी लोग they dropped out, और फिर he called them, he gave them a choice कि वो अगले दिन भी आके कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. वही टेस्ट, ट्रेडमिल टेस्ट इसको उन्होंने कहा था. तो a lot of people did not show up. तो उन्होंने कहा कि जो लोग the people who came back they are grittier than those who did not come back. So they're, as you said, they're more determined and more passionate about something. तो मेरा अगला सवाल ये है कि जो ग्रिट है, एक तो आपने कहा ना ये दिस इज एन इनेट थिंग जो हर इंसान में पाई जाती है. सो ग्रिट जो है ना सक्सेस से बहुत ज्यादा आजकल अमेरिकन ड्रीम, ठीक है. आप अगर अमेरिकन ड्रीम की बात करें, इट इज समथिंग जो ग्रिट की बात करते हैं कि इफ यू आर पैशनेट अबाउट समथिंग और आप डिटरमिनेंट हैं तो you will succeed because you are more gritty than normal people. तो मेरा अगला सवाल था कि टैलेंट क्या चीज है फिर. हाउ इज ग्रेट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम टैलेंट?
Okay, let me tell you how talent is different and great.
Yes.
there can be people who are extremely talented, very good at what they do, but let's say let's talk of a Formula One driver. Someone like Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen. Okay, like they might be the best drivers in the world, but you still have to work hard to keep on a track with your talents. Because if you talent is natural, like talent is not something which you can build on, but to make that talent sustainable, that's the thing. Like you can be talented and you can sustain it for like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years on talent alone, but after that people will get catch up with you because people will start copying you, start doing things how you do those things. For instance, you start doing a business. That's a very talented business idea because you are talented enough to have business ideas. But in 3 to 4 years, your business idea would have competitors, and then you would need to change your tactics, your things, so that you can compete with your competitors and out grow them. And that's where you need grit, because that's where you need to keep doing that thing again and again, again and again, again and again, because it's a process. It's not like it happens overnight or in a day. So like, yes, talent is important, can take you to a certain extent, but it after that you have got to work hard at maintaining the talent. The thing is, like, you would have very often seen in schools, even there would be very good school kids, okay, like uh, who were very
Right.
talented.
Our
Everybody used
geniuses,
to,
basically.
yes, everybody used to tell them like, oh, what a kid, isko to sab aata hai. In any class you give him any question, he will give you answer and all that. But uh, mm, what happens is that they don't work hard because of that talent, and they end up being not coming in those, not achieving those grades or those results which someone else who probably isn't as talented as them but is more hardworking than them. So they end up getting those results. So it's about, like, you cannot just live on talent alone. Like, yes, talent gives you a push start, like it gives you a good start to on most things on better footing. But if you don't work on it, if you don't sort of try to maintain it, it will go away. So you cannot just do that on talent alone. Like the base example of, do you watch cricket?
Yes, yes, of course. I do a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So uh, for the past 12, 10 years, one of the things we have seen right in front of our eyes, someone like Umar Akmal, very talented guy, but he couldn't live up to his expectations for the very reason because the guy could not do the hard work which was required to maintain that talent and skill level. On the other hand, there were some other people who might be less talented, who might be players who might not have as much skill level as they have, but they have better work ethics. They have more determination to succeed and grow and stuff like that. So that's why talent is a natural thing. Hard work and grit can sort of allow you to build a way to success. Like it might not be the most efficient way, it might not be the most prettiest way. It might not come as something which you would call, which is nice to the eyes, but it works for them. And as long as it works, that's what matters. Like it does not matter that um, it has to be pleasing to your eyes, something, but it has to be like, if it's working for them, well and good for them. And that's how they probably,
Yeah,
most
so
of the times, you would have also seen people who have hard work and grit sort of grow or outrun the talented ones.
yeah, so basically बड़ी interesting बात की आपने, क्योंकि I was coming to this very point कि ये मैंने इसी book में Angela Duckworth wrote about something which was very close to my heart कि we do this on a regular basis. हम कोई बंदा देखते हैं जो बड़ा successful होता है, we say वो तो genius है, ठीक है. We talk about Jeff Bezos, ठीक है, हम कहते हैं he's a
Yeah,
genius. We
yeah,
say whenever we mention Elon Musk, we say he's a genius, ठीक है. तो बात ये है कि एक सोशियोलॉजिस्ट हैं डैन कैम्बलिस, ठीक है, ही इज वन ऑफ द
Yes.
लीडिंग रिसर्चर्स ऑन ग्रिट। उनकी एक बड़ा पुराना ऐसे है, उस स्टडी है, उसका नाम है द मंडेनिटी ऑफ एक्सीलेंस, ठीक है। उसमें उन्होंने ये लिखा है कि उन्होंने बेसिकली ये स्टडी किया स्विमर्स के ऊपर, सक्सेसफुल स्विमर्स के ऊपर
Yes.
कि कौन सक्सेसफुल है,
Yes.
ठीक है। सो
Yes.
ही रोट दैट सुपरलेटिव परफॉर्मेंस इज रियली अ confluence of dozens of small skills or activities which one learned or stumbled upon, which have been carefully drilled into habit and are fitted together in a
Yes.
synthesized whole. There is nothing
Yes.
extraordinary or superhuman in any of these actions, only the fact that
Yes.
they are done consistently and correctly and all together produce excellence. So वही वाली बात
Yes.
आ जाती है कि mundanity or continuous hard work actually produces excellence. It's not it's
Yes. That,
so it's not the being genius or talented, as you yourself said, कि ये it is much more than that, ठीक है। It is
I
about, yeah,
actually the thing is that your luck or your genius can give you success for a short period of time, but to have sustainable success, which lasts over decades, like 10 years or 20, 30 years, for that success to happen, you cannot just rely on talent, or you cannot just rely on your mm, inbuilt genius ability. You have to add practice and consistency to it. Otherwise, other people will catch up with you very soon. And the thing which might look genius in the first instance might look like that it wasn't
बिल्कुल
genius.
बिल्कुल ऐसे ही है कि वो उन्होंने कहा था, वही डैन साहब की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ। उन्होंने अपने
जी जी
बेसिकली उन्होंने कहा कि यही स्टडी में उन्होंने लिखा हुआ था कि कोई चीज़ हमें जब व्हेन वी कैन नॉट सी एन एफर्ट बिहाइंड समथिंग एंड वी डू नॉट
yes,
वांट टू एक्सेप्ट कि किसी ने कितना हार्ड वर्क किया है, तो हम कहते हैं इट्स अ गिफ्ट। और हम बिकॉज
बिल्कुल
वी डू नॉट वांट टू वर्क टुवर्ड्स दैट, हम उसके उतना लेवल हम काम नहीं करना चाहते, उतनी मेहनत नहीं करना चाहते। सो वी फाइंड दिस
बिल्कुल
परवेसिव वे ऑफ सेइंग कि यार वो टैलेंटेड है, मैं नहीं हूँ, सो मे बी दिस इज एन एक्सक्यूज फॉर मी टू सिट आउट, ठीक है।
yes,
तो उसको हम नेचुरल जो है ना फिनोमिनन दे देते हैं, ताकि वी जस्ट से कि यार हम नहीं कर सकते, ये तो है ही बहुत ऊपर। तो
बिल्कुल
आई
बिल्कुल
सी दैट अ लॉट इन आवर सोसाइटी एज वेल। तो अब हम एक और बेसिकली ये बात होगी एफर्ट की, ठीक है, कि एफर्ट इज
yes,
समथिंग दैट यू पुट।
sure,
सो
sure,
इसमें मेरा सवाल ये है कि व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट एफर्ट, what kind
yes,
of effort we are talking about, ठीक है, क्योंकि एफर्ट बहुत से लोग करते हैं, ठीक है।
hmm,
इफ यू सी फॉर एग्जांपल, एक उसने बुक में ही, सॉरी मैं बुक की बार बार एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, बिकॉज
कोई मसला नहीं।
इन एंटिसिपेशन ऑफ दिस पॉडकास्ट ना मैंने पूरी बुक पढ़ी है, तो आई हैव लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ बिल्ड अप ओवर हियर कि मैंने कौन से सवाल
Hmm,
पूछने, तो इसलिए आई एम सॉरी इफ आई एम
hmm,
गोइंग बैक टू द बुक अगेन,
sure,
ठीक है।
sure,
तो एंजेला मिस डकवर्थ एक्चुअली टॉक्स अबाउट दिस फैक्ट के she said कि वो रोज जो है ना over the last 20 to 30 years she has been running every day, ठीक है। वो
hmm,
रोज सुबह उठ के चक्कर लगाती है, ठीक है। बट एक अब एक बंदा एथलीट है, ठीक है, वो भी अगर आप किसी भी एथलीट को देखेंगे वो कहेगा कि मैंने इतने 1000 आवर्स काम किया, ठीक है, आई
hmm,
वर्क 10,000 आवर्स टू इम्प्रूव माई सेल्फ। तो
hmm.
एक रेगुलर बंदा अमेरिकन या पाकिस्तानी जो रोज भागता है, व्हाई इजंट ही पुटिंग, उसकी एफर्ट में तो कोई फायदा फर्क नहीं पड़ता, वो तो ऑलमोस्ट रोज जो लोग भागते हैं दे आर रनिंग द सेम अमाउंट ऑफ माइल्स एवरी डे।
Hmm.
तो व्हाट
Hmm.
इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दीज टू एफर्ट्स?
Okay, one thing you've got to realize about effort, uh, and even that you mentioned about our society as well, is that it's important to know that what you're trying to achieve in the first place. If you don't know that what you're trying to achieve, it's pretty much like banging your head in a wall day in and day out. Like you mentioned that there are many people who do run the same amount of time. Why do they do that? Like they are just doing, either they are just doing it because it is something that they like, or either they want to get fit or something like that. I don't think so that it is necessarily a goal for them that they need to run this much so that they can
Improve.
become a world-class athlete.
Yeah.
So like it's just something they do subconsciously without
Yep. Yeah.
any reason. It's just like they like doing that stuff.
Yep.
So it, that's an effort they put in to just enjoy themselves. Okay, like everyone do certain things to enjoy themselves. So probably for some people, running is a way of the freedom that they can feel. You know, like when you run fast, you sort of it's the closest the human being can come to flying
Mm. So,
naturally if
mhm.
you talk about. So the effort which you are talking about, which other people do, someone like an athlete, an elite athlete, or a businessman or a professor or someone like that, that effort is completely different because they know that this is a set goal which I want to achieve, and to achieve that goal, I have to put in this number of hours every day to get to that point. So that effort counts more because they know that they are doing something for a purpose or for a goal. But to compare the other people's effort, I don't think so. They're putting an effort. They're just doing that because they like doing that for themselves, or they just want to get fit or something like that. So I don't think so. Like they're actually putting any effort or stuff. It's just that they sort of feel like they like running every day. So it's more of that sort of thing.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग बात अब मैं थोड़ी सी ऐड करूंगा क्योंकि ये मैंने ये एग्जैक्ट चीज पढ़ी है इसको जो आपने डिफाइन किया इसको उन्होंने डिफाइन किया एज अ टर्म डेलिबरेट प्रैक्टिस सो व्हाट ए
Yes.
सोशियोलॉजिस्ट ने उन्होंने आई डोंट नो हिज नेम मैं लिखना भूल गया था ही एक्चुअली टर्म्ड दिस एज अ डेलिबरेट प्रैक्टिस वर्सेस जस्ट रनिंग ठीक है और वही वाली बात
Yes.
आपकी वाली कि उन्होंने कहा कि डेलिबरेट प्रैक्टिस इज नॉट फन ठीक है जब
Yeah.
मैं कुछ रन कर रहा हूँ आई probably be listening to some podcast और आई एम listening to music या मैं सोच रहा हूँ मैंने आज दिन में क्या काम करना है जो बंदा एक
Yes.
एथलीट है ठीक है और या फिर कोई चेस प्लेयर है जो प्रैक्टिस कर रहा है ही इज प्रैक्टिसिंग टू इम्प्रूव आई एम प्लेइंग
Yes.
आई एम प्रैक्टिसिंग टू जस्ट प्ले राइट फॉर फन
Yes.
सो
Yes.
सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग इससे मुझे एक चीज याद आती है कि व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट ग्रिट ठीक है तो
Yes.
जो साइंस है उसने ग्रिट को बेसिकली ग्रिट जो भी लोग ग्रिटी होते हैं दे हैव दीज थ्री क्वालिटीज दीज आई गेस फोर क्वालिटीज यस सो इंटरेस्ट प्रैक्टिस
Yes.
purpose and hope ठीक है so this is
Yeah.
these are four things that gritty people have ठीक है so I'll
Hmm.
ask again अब हम थोड़ा सा सोशियोलॉजी की साइड पे आते हैं वापस क्योंकि I
Mhm.
interest is something that पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी के ऊपर काफी डिस्कस होती है कि how आज हमारे से पहले generations it was all about becoming a doctor or an engineer ठीक है
Hmm. Hmm.
तो
Hmm. Hmm.
और इवन जो मैंने बुक में पढ़ा है मुझे नहीं पहले पता था इट वाज वेरी सिमिलर फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल अब्रॉड एज वेल ठीक है और
Hmm.
एक्चुअली जो हाई क्वान जो जिनकी सोशियोलॉजी की स्टडी पढ़ी है शी रोट इन हर पेपर के इसके अंदर सोशो इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर्स बहुत ज़्यादा आते हैं ऑन इन डिसाइडिंग कि whether a person has a choice to actually pursue something which he is interested about तो इसके ऊपर
Yes.
थोड़ा समझाएं कि इंटरेस्ट का सोशियोलॉजी का और सोसाइटी का इंटरेस्ट में क्या रोल है और इंटरेस्ट क्या चीज है व्हाई डज इट मैटर
See.
कि जो बंदा ग्रिटी हो उसका इंटरेस्ट होना चाहिए
Hmm. So उसकी सबसे आसान the easiest reason for that basically interest is something which you like.
yeah
ठीक है? And uh, there's also a view that exists which says is that once you start doing work, and if that work is interesting enough for you, it becomes a passion for you ultimately, because you like doing that work, so you will put in a lot of more effort into that work rather than doing some work which you don't have any interest in. As far as the Pakistani society is concerned, the problem is that we have actually stereotyped a lot for a lot of years, and it's understandable for a reason, especially through the previous years. One of that is that the societies which are bigger in number, which has huge populations, it's very competitive. So everybody wants security. Like security is very important, financial security, and everything is basically based upon it, where you can have a good sort of living. And for that, you need to get into a profession or get into a field which gives you secure outputs. And in a country like Pakistan, especially during the early years, what is considered secure? Probably a government job, which was whether going into the army or whether becoming a doctor even. Why doctor? Because it's a government job. You have job security. You have a job for the next 25, 30 years, or even bureaucracy. Like you have a job security for yourself. And the other reason for that was, and it is, that there is no mechanism exists that actually allows you to explore your interests. Like 16-year-old, 18-year-old you wasn't told by, or even me, wasn't told by anyone that, kid, you're good in this area, you should pursue it. We had to figure it out on our own. No one was there to mentor us, tell us that, kid, you are good on this, good in these subjects, you should be pursuing this career. No one was there to tell you that. So that's why kids basically don't know. And what they have in front of themselves is like examples of people from the previous generations, and they have limited to certain fields. So that's why. And because the information revolution which has come, it has come in the last decade, not before that. So it will change things, because people now have more information. They know what someone in Chile is doing, or what someone in Japan is doing, or what sort of businesses or education opportunities do exist. But before, in the time, there was a dearth of information. And when there's a dearth of information, the only information you have is from around your social circles. And you tend to have ideals or people who are just around you. So just you try to look and try to emulate them. And
So
that's where your education system comes in. The education system does not have a way of pointing out diversified talent base, or not has a system which identifies talent pool for different areas. And that's something which needs to be worked on if you want to create the diversified talent pool, that your people's interests do develop, but they sort of go out, because ultimately there won't be any jobs for it, or there won't be any secure careers for it. So that's why most people try to go for those safe and secure careers over some things that are interesting to them.
तो इसमें सॉरी मैं आपकी बात काट रहा हूँ. आई वांट टू नो समथिंग. जो आपने बड़ी सही बात किया कि इंटरेस्ट्स आर समथिंग व्हिच आर एक्चुअली लीड पीपल टू हैव एंगेजिंग लाइफ. ठीक है. और जब सेटिस्फैक्शन ज्यादा होगी ऑब्वियसली पीपल वर्क मोर टुवर्ड्स दैट. सो अब मेरा अगला सवाल है, एज अ सोसाइटी हाउ डू यू फाइंड योर इंटरेस्ट? बिकॉज आई रेड अबाउट दिस वंस अगेन, बुक में पढ़ा था. सो
Sure,
देयर
sure.
इज अ वेरी फेमस शेफ नेम जूलिया चाइल्ड. उसका लिखा था कि हाउ शी डिस्कवर्ड हर इंटरेस्ट इन बिकमिंग अ शेफ. ठीक है. सो शी वाज सिटिंग इन दिस डाइनिंग फैंसी डाइनिंग रेस्टोरेंट इन फ्रांस. ठीक है. सो शी टुक वन बाइट ऑफ सोल म्यूनिर or something. Yeah. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so
just
yeah,
narrate it.
yeah.
Don't need for the
So
exact specifics.
yeah,
Like just
so
narrate it simply.
soul म्यूनिर किया खाया उसने, and she thought के अब I am going to be she knew exactly कि उसका passion food में. ठीक है. So
Hmm.
today she is one of the most celebrated chefs around the world. ठीक है. और उसकी बहुत ज़्यादा cookbooks वगैरह, you must have heard about it. On the other hand,
Hmm.
there's this Olympic gold medalist swimmer है Rowdy Gaines. He
Yes.
said कि जब वो बच्चा था he was he wanted to go to sports. ठीक है. that much he knew.
Hmm.
ठीक है. तो
Hmm.
उसने बास्केटबॉल, फुटबॉल, बेसबॉल,
Hmm.
गोल्फ और
Hmm.
टेनिस ट्राई की बिफोर ही एक्चुअली वेंट इनटू स्विमिंग. ठीक है. तो
Hmm.
और और यानी कि he said कि वो change करता रहा. It's not like he instantly knew कि ये मेरा
Hmm.
interest है.
Hmm.
And he kept
Hmm.
on going with it. तो
Hmm.
after it was only after that कि उसने figure out किया कि जनाब swimming is something I like, और he
Hmm.
stood up और उसने फिर वही follow किया. तो
Hmm.
what is this thing? Do you think interests are something that can be found immediately or as a society? Because हमारी society में आजकल इस चीज़ पे बहुत बात हो रही है, ठीक है, for the life 5 to
So,
7 years. Yep.
so let me tell you, let me answer you this about interest. In that, there is also two categories. Some people are who are able to find their true calling. Okay, true calling in the sense that they sort of realize at some point in time that I'm actually good at it. But at the same time, there are a lot of people, most of the people need someone to tell them that you are actually good at it,
Okay.
that this is something you're good at. And that's where I'll come again. Like I can give you my own example. After my A levels, I did chartered accountant. I took admission in chartered accountancy for 2 years. And after 2.5 years, I left chartered accountancy because I realized that this was not something I could do for the rest of my life. Numbers or things did not interest me. Probably something like history and this was although I knew like the subject was something that uh, I liked from probably grade fifth, sixth, but I was not brave enough to call it back then. But then I sort of realized that either I have two choices. I can make the switch right now or remain stuck in there. So that's when I sort of took that decision of switching the career fields. And then I went for history and sociology. And now I can see in front of myself, uh, I won't say like very clear things, but at least I know that whatever I would be doing in the coming months or days or years would be something related to the field of my interest. So coming to that point is that there are various cases of it. One case scenario is that you yourself find your true calling, like you realize that this is something which interests me and I am going to pursue it. The second bit sort of people are that who know that this is their true calling but are not brave enough to take that decision for whatever reason. It could be economic, it could be social, it could be just your uh, feeling that is my instinct telling me the truth or is it just making me a fool. And then there is the third case, which is the most obvious one, is that many people need someone to tell them that what are you really good at. Like because it's important that uh, there is someone there when you are growing up that they're able to tell you that. And it's also something which comes back to the education bit of thing, is like the more diversified your education is during your growing up years, during your formative years, which are basically from your classes 1 till 6 7th, the more subjects you study. Like you what in our schools is we are limited to 7 to 8 subjects, but if you look after that, once you come to your university level, you get to look at that,
Sure.
oh,
Yeah.
this subject also exists, this subject also exists. So if you want to find that whether someone has interest, you need to diversify that base of subjects. Like if you teach those kids, probably you remove the examination bit of things out of it, and what you do is that kids just study these subjects for 2 3 years and you're monitored for it. And there are people actually mentoring you who are looking just for this bit, that what interests this particular kid or what interests these number of kids. So that's why those kids will be actually, they might find something interested which they did not know about. So that's why most of the kids, especially in our society in Pakistan, during their middle school or when actually you are in the process of deciding what sort of career path you're trying to take, there are so many subjects about which they don't even know about. And by the time they get to know about those subjects, a lot of time has gone by, and then they ultimately what they have to do is they have just got to continue with whatever they had decisions they made in the past. So that's why in our society in particular, and I can see that now it's changing a bit, because the thing I mentioned to your previous question was that information has sort of made it more accessible for people to access different career paths and avenues and look at them in different ways. So it has sort of surely opened a lot of ways for them where they have
So,
more access to information and stuff. So that's why it's more a case of people finding their own true calling, or there is someone lying to tell you. Like, let me add an interesting quote to it. Like Dale Steyn, the famous fast bowler, he
yeah, yeah.
was spotted at the age of 11 or 12 by his school that his physique and his body is best suited to sports. It's a separate debate what he became a fast bowler after what 10 years or 12 years, but he was spotted then. He was told that you should pursue this because you will be good at it, and he was. So it's also about people spotting some talent or some good thing in you and telling you about it, and then telling you that you should pursue it so that way you can maximize your abilities. It's not
So,
just a
yeah.
case of finding your interest and going on with it.
एग्जैक्टली मैं इसी से मैं कहूँगा कि एक बेरी शॉर्ट्स है, एक साइकोलॉजिस्ट है स्वाथमोर कॉलेज में, ही रोट दिस स्टडी ऑन अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशंस, ठीक है. सो वो कोई 40-45 साल से ही टीचर साइकोलॉजी, ठीक है. तो उन्होंने कहा कि जो अब यंग जनरेशन आ रही है ना, उनका वही मसला है करियर में भी जो उनका मसला है फाइंडिंग अ रोमांटिक पार्टनर में, ठीक है, कि दे हैव अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशंस, ठीक है. फॉर एग्जांपल ही सेज के लोगों को परफेक्ट वाइफ चाहिए, ठीक है, परफेक्ट
Hmm.
रोमांटिक पार्टनर चाहिए, ठीक है,
Hmm.
कि वो दे वांट समथिंग जो परफेक्ट आएगी तो दे ट्राई समथिंग, ठीक है.
Hmm.
सो इट
Hmm.
रिजल्ट्स इन अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल एक्चुअली स्विचिंग देयर करियर्स और इस तरह, ठीक है.
Hmm.
सो
Hmm. Hmm.
सिमिलरली ही सेड के लोगों को ये मिथोलॉजी है और लोग सोचते हैं कि falling in love with a career should be sudden and swift. So but उसने कहा कि
Yeah.
it is not the case, ठीक है. Falling in love with a career,
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to go really deep into a subject to actually like it, ठीक है. फिर आपको पता लगता
Yes.
है कि आप इंटरेस्टेड हैं कि नहीं. So it is something जो आप सोशियोलॉजिकल अपने पर्सपेक्टिव से बताएं. What is leading this whole thing कि हमारी सोसाइटी में आज अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशंस क्यों है?
Hmm. Uski, it's very simple actually. Like there is no such thing as perfect. Like
Exactly.
no human being is perfect, and no thing in perfection exists except for if we go to our beliefs. Except for
Yeah.
God, there is no other thing which is perfect. But the point which you have said is that why those unrealistic expectations exist is because everybody has sort of an ideal in their own mind. Okay, it might not be the ideal scenario, but they have in their own mind an ideal sort of thing. So it's just a case of getting more access to information. Like sometimes you didn't knew about what was happening, what your friend was doing with their life, but now it's like you constantly know about what anyone else is doing in their life through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter, through all these various platforms. So you're constantly in that competition actually of getting of being better than the other person in that showmanship, the show that basically you're putting out for the world to see. And from when you're putting out a show, or you when you're putting out a show for the world to see, you want it to be as perfect as possible, because the expectations which you're driving are not from your own self, but those expectations are basically coming from the societal standards or the societal norms that have been set. The societal norms and things have been set by that the Instagram stories. So you think that what everyone else is doing is your expectation as well. And that's why that satisfaction does not exist, because you are actually looking for satisfaction in expectation which are not yours, which are completely someone else. So that's why there is a lot of discontent and a lot of look for that perfect thing. It's also with, like, how the the TV shows that you look at, or the movies that you look at, or throughout all of that industry you look at, a lot of what is portrayed is sort of portrayed to you in a manner that you sort of feel like it's the perfect world. While it shows the good side of things, there are very few, especially in our society. If you look at the dramas or stuff which is coming out culturally, it shows you one side of the thing, but it does not tell you that things can be difficult. You have to make compromises at some point as well. Like, no perfect situation exists. So it's that unnecessary expectation that has sort of uh, hit the society with that information revolution, which is the social media, the coming of social media, and where you are constantly putting out your lives and you're constantly watching other people's lives. You sort of tend to feel inferior. Like, like you would have come across a lot of people who just put out stories on Instagram or on Facebook just to show that to the world. Or even there would be a wonderful perfect view in front of you somewhere in the mountains. What is the first thing you will be doing? You'll be taking out your phone and taking a picture on Instagram to show it to the world, rather than trying to capture that moment for your own self, soak it in. Like, what your eyes can see, I don't think that camera can justify that for you.
Yeah, perfect.
So
So
it's that unnecessary expectation that social media has built, has basically based it on. It has made people's expectations, made people realize that the expectations they have to build for themselves. Actually, they're not people's expectations. It's just expectations forced upon them, which everyone feels like, okay, this is what expectations I need to sort of have for myself.
so yes, बड़ा interesting story है कि Jeff Bezos की story is it's one of the most interesting stories I've actually read. और इससे I'll basically tell you थोड़ा सा summary बताऊंगा, फिर I'll put a question to regarding how society has actually developed something. ठीक है कि for example जो आपने शुरू में बात की थी, you started with this concept कि यार grit is something जो it's not necessary कि you yourself recognize your own passion. हो सकता है कि someone else who's there in your life he recognizes
Yes.
and supports you, right? तो uh, तो Jeff Bezos की
Yes.
story is very interesting because her mother had Jeff Bezos when she was only 17. ठीक है तो
Hmm.
according to her, she had no preconceived notion of how a mother should be, and according to her, she was very interested in how his her son actually behaved in a lot of ways. Okay? And she said that she supported him throughout the career, throughout the childhood. और उन्होंने लिखा है कि she even went to Radio Shack, which is like a famous or hardware store in US. Oh my god, they went there चार दफा दिन में, ठीक है, because they had to buy
Hmm.
components for her, ठीक है, him.
Hmm.
और like she said कि when he was very young, तो जेफ बेजोस ने uh, उसने क्या किया, he took a string and tied all the handles of kitchen cupboard together, and then when you
Hmm.
opened one, all of them would pop open. ठीक है, so like he
Hmm.
was sort of a वो बच्चा जिसको इंटरेस्ट था, but
Hmm.
it must be remembered that it was his mother, as you said yourself, कि it's her support that actually led him to this point. Because uh, एक और स्टोरी उसने बताई कि जेफ शी वाज सिटिंग विद अ फ्रेंड, और जेफ बेजोस आया और वो पूरा उसने एक इन्फिनिटी क्यूब बनाई थी. इन्फिनिटी क्यूब इज लाइक एक क्यूब जिसमें
Hmm.
चारों तरफ शीशे होते हैं, ठीक है. सो
Hmm.
तो आप सारे लाइक वो इफ यू सीन इन मूवीज वो आपको हर तरफ एक ही इमेज नजर आ रहा होता है, ठीक है. सो हुआ को तो जेफ बेजोस ने वो बनाई, तो उसकी अम्मी के पास आई हुई थी एंड उसने पूरी साइंस समझाई, तो उसकी अम्मी केप्ट नॉटिंग और आध 15-20 मिनट इस तरह रहा, ठीक है. तो क्या हुआ कि उसकी उनकी दोस्त ने कहा कि डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड एनी ऑफ इट. तो उसने कहा कि इट्स नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट आई अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग, इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट आई लिसन, ठीक है. तो इवन देन आफ्टर क्लासेस उस बच्चे ने कि चौथी पांचवी क्लास में था, ठीक है, ही स्टॉप्ड गोइंग टू द स्कूल और वो लेबोरेटरी जाके किसी प्रोफेसर के साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करता था. तो एक दफा उसकी अम्मी को फोन आया स्कूल के कि ये क्लासेस स्किप कर रहे हैं लंच के बाद, ठीक है, स्कूल छोड़ जाता है. तो जब उसकी अम्मी ने जाके पूछा कि क्या सीन है, तो वो पता लगा कि वो एयरप्लेन विंग्स के साथ, फ्रिक्शन के साथ और ड्रैग के साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा था, ठीक है. सो उसकी अम्मी ने कहा कि चलो अब हम, ही एक्चुअली हेल्प्ड हिम टेक दोज क्लासेस रादर देन शनिंग हिज इंटरेस्ट. तो जब हम बात करते हैं पाकिस्तान की, ठीक है, और हमारी सोसाइटी की, हाउ डू यू थिंक आवर मदर्स वुड बिहेव अगर एक बच्चा हमारा इस तरह कर रहा हो, और हाउ डज दैट इम्पैक्ट सोसाइटी और एक बच्चे की ग्रोथ?
Yes, it impacts greatly because uh, there will even in the US there will be very few mothers who would actually do that for their kids. Same is the case with here. Here even more like there's hardly any room for doing things which are out of the box. Because societal constraints are so much. Basically, our society, the basis of our society basically exists on what others have done and how you need to be like others. Like there's very little room to be different from that. And that's basically comes from the rigid systems that exist. The rigidity of mind actually is which creates such systems, and whether it be your family institutions, or whether it be your societal institutions, or whether it be your education institutions,
Yes.
all of them are a byproduct of that rigidity that exists. So that's why it's very difficult. So that's why what you need to have is you need to have systems which are not rigid, where there is the ability, or where is the chance for people to basically explore themselves. The thing which I mentioned to you, you may not have gotten the concept of it, but your education, at least if not anywhere else, the education system, your education institutions need do not need rigidity,
बिल्कुल.
because those are the
जो आप
places where a
बिल्कुल
child or any person can have the maximum chance to explore themselves.
बिल्कुल
And especially in the young age, that's the time where a kid tries to explore themselves, because once you get over after 20, 25, your I'm not saying it dies, it is still there, but it's not as much at the level that it is when you're a young kid, because the things that you sort of the personality that you sort of tend to show, show to the world sort of gets made up when you are very young. So that's why I feel like the rigidity of our society is basically what stops everybody from being Jeff Bezos or our mothers.
actually
Actually,
supporting.
all
Yeah.
yes, and because our families are also like a byproduct of the rigid system now. So a generation or few generations, probably our generation will have to do is that we don't need to become rigid towards ideals. Like we need to have open opinions about stuff. We very often see that even in our lives we are very rigid about things. Well, there is no need to be rigid about things. Like you should always be open to incorporating good things and letting go of bad things from wherever they might be, because till the time you do not have that philosophy in yourself, you would be restricting yourself to a particular knowledge base. And once you do that, you're limiting yourself to a particular knowledge base. You're basically stopping the process of your own growth.
Exactly. So very interesting because जब आप बात करते हैं कि रिजिडिटी सिस्टम में है, तो इससे मुझे समझ आती कल्चर, ठीक है. कल्चर इज समथिंग विच
Yes.
वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट इनडायरेक्टली. हम स्कूल कल्चर की बात की, आपने पेरेंट्स की बात की, वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट इनडायरेक्टली. पर मैं थोड़ा सा उस पर डायरेक्ट आऊँगा, क्योंकि क्रॉस कल्चरल, अगर हम पाकिस्तान पे, आई डोंट नो इफ देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च इन सोशियोलॉजी ऑन दिस, बिकॉज आप मुझे थोड़ा सा बताएं कि हाउ डज आवर कल्चर डिफर फ्रॉम, जैसे आपने मुझे बताया तो है कि एजुकेशन सिस्टम फर्क है, ये हमारी फैमिली सिस्टम फर्क है, ठीक है, हमारे अब प्रीवियस जनरेशन की सोच फर्क है, इंफॉर्मेशन की कमी है जिसकी वजह से ये फर्क आते हैं. आई अंडरस्टैंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, बट इवन स्टिल ये चीजें एग्जिस्ट करती थी उनकी सोसाइटी में भी, ठीक है. हाउ
Hmm.
what cultural changes did US and countries like साउथ कोरिया, बिकॉज मैं इसलिए बात कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि जो मैंने थोड़ी सी रिसर्च की है उसमें ज़्यादा वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज की ही ऊपर ग्रिड के ऊपर रिसर्च हुई है.
Hmm.
तो
Hmm.
what sort of work did they do to actually come about this difference?
Actually, because research does not exist, it does not mean that uh, grit does not exist here. Like
No,
grit,
yeah, of course.
I know what you're trying to say. Like what cultural changes we need to sort of incorporate in our system के वो हम ज़्यादा उसको कर सकें. Because I don't think like वो grit जो है वो, as I said in the very start, that it's not something which you can build in someone. It's an innate quality which you have. आप उसको किस extent तक use करते हैं, that's what's important. Or how you're able to use it. So एक तो वो point हो गया. तो what cultural changes we can make, or what US made, or what they made, actually it's sort of important to understand is that US says the best brains in the world go there. Okay, whether जितना भी दुनिया का बेस्ट टैलेंट है, whether it's from Pakistan, throughout the world, it sort of goes into US because world's best companies and sort of everything operates there. So जब आप सब उनमें हो जाते हैं तो probably all of, if not all of them, but most of them are on a similar talent based level. And when you're on a similar talent based level, what's going to differentiate you apart? It's grit which
ठीक
is
है.
going to differentiate you apart. So it's about that. Pakistan, maybe it's like you have a population of 220 million people and it's super competitive and you have to be gritty to be successful here as well. जो
But, hmm.
interests की बात है जहाँ तक, which you mentioned के उसके लिए जो culture और society का क्या part हो सकता है, उसमें problem is that there is a big generation gap. Like if you look at our parents' generation and our generation, we have grown in the age of internet, okay, and our way of looking at life and things is very different to how our parents perceive life, and 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 now there is a struggle for them to actually adapt to the sort of life which we are living. So there is a lot of generational gap. So it's important is that वो हम लोग अब कैसे कल्चर क्रिएट करेंगे.
तो हाँ,
It
आई अंडरस्टैंड दिस. मेरा थोड़ा सा सवाल अब इसी सवाल पे मैं थोड़ा सा नैरो डाउन करूँगा एग्जांपल के साथ. एक मैच्योरिटी प्रिंसिपल है व्हिच इज वेरी बेसिकली इट्स अ साइको सोशल. फिर से मैं आ रहा हूँ क्योंकि ग्रेट इनहेरेंटली साइकोलॉजिकल है, तो मैं थोड़ा सा साइको सोशल
Mhm.
उसमें आ रहा
Mhm.
हूँ. पर्सपेक्टिव में दे से मैच्योरिटी प्रिंसिपल टॉक्स अबाउट हाउ ग्रेट एक्चुअली ग्रोस, ठीक है. इट इट टॉक्स अबाउट एक बच्ची की, फॉर एग्जांपल एक मिसाल दी हुई है बुक में. जो बच्ची है क्या कि शी इज ऑलवेज लेट टू स्कूल, ठीक है. शी थ्रू आउट हर करियर स्टूडेंट लाइफ शी इज ऑलवेज लेट टू क्लासेस, ठीक है. अब हुआ क्या कि एक समर शी ज्वाइंड ए बिजनेस और समथिंग, ठीक है. अब वहां पे वो बच्ची गई, ठीक है. और वहां पे उस बच्ची ने उसको द मैनेजर टोल्ड हर कि भाई इफ यू कांट कम ऑन टाइम you can't come tomorrow, ठीक है. So that day onwards, ठीक है, that person who's been late all her life started being on time, ठीक है. So
Yes.
Similarly, एक similar story है कि एक child who's growing in kindergarten where a certain style of uh, like people used to help the child go to for a lot of things, ठीक है? But as soon as this child actually and leaves kindergarten and enters primary education, तो वहाँ पे कुछ चॉइसेस लिमिटेड हो जाती हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल वॉश रेस्ट रूम यूज करने की, ठीक है? सो अ लॉट ऑफ चिल्ड्रन इंस्टेंटली लर्न हाउ टू डू इट बिकॉज दे डू नॉट हैव अ चॉइस, ठीक है? सो दिस शोज के ये मेच्योरिटी प्रिंसिपल है कि अचानक से ए सिंगल इंसिडेंट कैन एक्चुअली ब्रिंग अबाउट दिस वेरी मेच्योरिटी दैट इज इन पीपल. सो मेरे कहने का मकसद है कि क्या अब मैं थोड़ा इसको सोशो इकोनॉमिक उस पर लेके आऊँगा कि जिस तरह आपने शुरू में बात की, ठीक है, कि ये सोशो इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर्स पे भी करता है, ठीक है? हाइकॉन यू देखिए जो हाइपोथेसिस है ही एक्चुअली शी रोट 3 to 4 हाइपोथेसिस इन हर पेपर. उसमें पहला ये था कि शी सेड कि हैविंग बीइंग फ्रॉम अ लोअर क्लास एक्चुअली इंक्रीजेस योर ग्रेड. इन द सिमिलर उसकी रीजन ये है कि यू डू नॉट हैव अदर रिसोर्सेज, ठीक है? But being from a higher class also gives grit because you have a lot of choices, ठीक है? Okay, so you can
stakes बहुत high होते हैं.
yes, अगर आपके पास resources हैं, you have a lot of choices, ठीक है? So you can pursue your interest और आप उसमें जाके gritty हो सकते हो, you can work towards that. On the other hand, जो गरीब बंदा है उसके पास choices नहीं है, so जो वो काम करेगा उस पर वो determined है. So आप मुझे बताएं when we talk about Pakistani society, ठीक है, डिटर्मिनेशन और पैशन डज आवर, तो पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी में आप किस तरह देखते हैं कि लोग किस तरह ये चीज डेवलप कर सकते हैं और अगर ये चीज पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी में किस तरह ट्रांसलेट करती है, अगर करती है?
Actually, the thing is that our people are not interested actually in everyone's benefit. I'll be example is the Pakistan's most businesses which exist in Pakistan, and if you look at those businesses, there will be a lot of businesses that are just interested in protecting their monopoly over that system, not actually interested in growth. Because once a business grows, it does not just grow on itself, it also allows a lot of people employment opportunities, allows a lot of people the opportunity to improve their livelihoods. But if you are an economic student, you would know better that there are a lot of businesses that continuously for many years have been doing rent seeking,
Yes.
just taking those incentives with themselves and just doing that. And what actually they're doing is they're just because they want their family or whatever the business interest just to remain with themselves, not to benefit other people. So it's about that how important it is for your society to have a collective outlook at life or an individualistic outlook at life. And I can understand the individualistic outlook at life in our society for the very reason because everyone wants to have a change of life, change of livelihoods in from their respective class. Like अगर कोई बहुत गरीब है तो वो चाहता है कि मैं मिडिल क्लास में आ जाऊँ, कोई मिडिल क्लास में है तो वो चाहता है कि मैं अमीर हो जाऊँ, जो अमीर है वो चाहता है कि मैं अमीर ही रहूँ लेकिन बाकी जो है वो अमीर ना हो. So जब तक ये माइंडसेट होगा तो you cannot actually change things. जहाँ तक ग्रिड की बात है, there is a lot of grit that exists. If you look at the past 15 years, what this country has been through, it has survived alone on grit. अगर grit ना होती, so we would have crumbled under terrorism. We did not. We actually fighted it out, and we have actually come out of it now. Although there was a lot of loss of life, 80,000 people died, a lot of economic resources were spent on fighting that war, but we have been able to sort of come out of it. ठीक है, तो वो ग्रेट एग्जिस्ट करती है सोसाइटी में. हर लेवल पे करती है, लोअर लेवल पे भी करती है, मिडिल क्लास में भी करती है। वही मैंने जो शुरू में बात की थी, इट्स एन इननेट एबिलिटी दैट एग्जिस्ट्स इन एवरीवन, एवरी सिंगल ह्यूमन बीइंग। बट इट्स अबाउट कि क्या वो जो ग्रिट है उसका यूटिलाइजेशन किस तरह हो रही है। ठीक है, वो अब हर कोई उसको यूटिलाइज जो है वो डिफरेंट चीज़ों के लिए करता है। आप या मैं हुआ प्रॉब्ली from the in between classes, we've probably tried to look at grit in terms of okay, how can we use it to कुछ जो barriers हमारे सामने, how can we get over those barriers. It's about being gritty, ठीक। But
Yeah,
for those
I
higher classes, उनका जो चीज़ है that they want grit to use for maintaining their stakes, कि वो जो रेंट सीकिंग वाला सिस्टम है वो चलता रहे, उसके लिए वो ग्रिट यूज करेंगे जितनी मर्जी होगी। और जो सबसे नीचे वाला जो लोएस्ट स्ट्रेटा का बंदा है, फॉर हिम ग्रिट वुड बी अबाउट सर्वाइविंग। बस सर्वाइवल हो जाए किसी तरह, जिंदगी जो है वो चलती रहे, दैट्स व्हाट ग्रिट इज फॉर देम। सो लाइक उसको इम्प्रूव करने के लिए वो यही है कि आपको इक्विटेबल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का सिस्टम लाएं, या कोई जो बेहतर सिस्टम हो विच इज प्रॉब्ली विच अलाउज एवरीवन द इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी। पर वो फिर एक डिफरेंट डिबेट में हम चले जाएंगे अगर हम उस तरफ जाते हैं तो।
आखिरी मेरे सवाल है कुछ, देयर बी वेरी साइंटिफिक सॉर्ट ऑफ इस तरह के रिसर्च शोज के हायर लेवल ऑफ कंट्रोल, सेंस ऑफ कंट्रोल कि आई हैव कंट्रोल ओवर माय लाइफ, ठीक है, इट लीड्स टू मोर ग्रिटियर पर्सन, ठीक है। तो आप पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी में क्या कहेंगे, डू बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ अस थिंक के अगर वी फेल एट समथिंग ना, तो वी से कि हम ये अल्लाह मियाँ नहीं चाहता था, या फिर या यू नो विल पुट इट ऑन आवर बिलीफ सिस्टम, ठीक है। तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक
बिल्कुल,
पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी में इसका कितना इम्पैक्ट होगा?
काफी काफी ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट है। एक्चुअली द प्रॉब्लम विद द पीपल ऑफ दिस कंट्री इज दैट दे आर वेरी इमोशनली ब्लैकमेल बहुत जल्दी हो जाते हैं। You would have very often seen people just giving out. I'm not saying that charity is bad or anything, but they, if somebody, just with the fear that someone will say bad words for you, you sort of have that fear, so that you, that what if that thing which he said to God about me, what if it turns out true? So what you do is you immediately reach out to your pocket or you to your wallet and take out 10, 20, 100, whatever rupees and give it away, so that it himself. So actually that's about, like, I don't want to go into the belief system of things, like how complicated they and
No,
how
no,
messed up we have made
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
Let's
yeah.
move on to next question फिर, क्योंकि
No, 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 no,
because
no, no, no.
yeah, okay.
Let me answer it.
Okay.
I'll answer it for you. So for that particular reason, that emotional, what I would say, fear which exists in people generally over this land. So it actually translates you into, uh, it translates into doing things and thinking of things that they're out of your control. And it's also a concept about in our society where we like to scapegoat things, you know,
Mm.
scapegoat people for our own things. Like if I couldn't do something good, it was because I someone did not help me or someone did not, like scapegoating of things. So it's also a factor which where we like to scapegoat God for our inability to do something.
Perfect. आखिरी like another thing which was very interesting was कि एक तो हमने बात कर ली कि क्लास कंट्रोल, क्लास का पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट होता है बिकॉज दिस सेंस ऑफ कंट्रोल आती है आपके पास, ठीक है, बिकॉज यू हैव मोर चॉइसेस और यू फील कि आप यू कैन कंट्रोल योर डेस्टिनी, ठीक है। सो यू आर मोर ग्रिटी और मोर आप बेसिकली ग्रिटी का मतलब कि आप कंसिस्टेंट ज़्यादा होते हो और आप परसेवेयर ज़्यादा करते हो, सो ठीक है, वो एफर्ट और वो दोनों हो रही है। एक एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग रिसर्च है विच वाज वेरी शॉकिंग टू मी कि अगर आपकी एजुकेशन ज़्यादा है, रिसर्च सोर्स के उसका नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट होगा, सो यू आर लेस लाइकली टू बी कंसिस्टेंट। एक्चुअली ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है बिकॉज दिस एक्चुअली सपोर्ट्स जो बुक में मैंने पढ़ा था कि आजकल की यंग जनरेशन इज, जो हमने डिस्कस भी किया, they change careers very fast, or they look for perfection. तो आप इसमें बताएं कि when we talk about Pakistani society, do you think कि हमारा education system अभी develop कर रहा है, so will that produce less gritty people? So
No,
what do you see happening?
actually, I can get the point which you mentioned, that people who study more are tend to be less gritty, but I don't think so. I agree with it.
Okay.
Because, for instance, if somebody is doing PhD, which involves a lot of research, a lot of work, a lot of hard work, despite how talented you are to do PhD or a master's even, it requires a lot of toughness, mental toughness, a lot of time researching, interviewing, and all that stuff. And I don't think so that it can be possible until and unless you are not gritty enough, you don't work hard enough. You can't do that merely on talent. As far as the thing you asked about the society bit, that our society and our education system, is it going to produce more gritty people or not? I don't think so. Education system actually has a bearing on producing those gritty people. Actually, I think our society creates gritty people just for the very fact that there is a lot of competition. Like, just let me give you an example, that every year around 40 to 50,000 people apply for the medical entrance test for just 3,000 seats, and you have to be gritty enough to qualify for it.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so it's not like that there is any need to create the social nature of our society basically makes you gritty, whether you like it or not, whether you want to be gritty or not. It's sort of like you have to bring out that in innate trait of yours of grit to survive, even if you are from a higher class, or even if you are from a middle class, or even if you're from lower class, because there's so many other people just waiting in the wings to take you over or to eat you over. So if you are not gritty enough, you won't survive. So when it's a question of survival, everybody tends to bring out the grit. And I do think that the younger generation, they will be gritty. Like, you system actually cannot do that grit bit. It's when your own ability comes into question, that's where you've got to be gritty. Or when it's a tough situation rises, irrespective of your class, that's when you try to be gritty. You try to steer yourself out of it, steer yourself out of trouble. So I think so it's going to be same, because when, especially in our region where China has 1.2 billion people, India has 1 billion people, Pakistan has a population, such a huge population, that's where you have to use your grit to survive.
So thank you so much, आखिरी में for this information. I have so much to ask, but एक podcast में I can't like put all that information. I hope I can actually do another session on grit, or I'm actually simultaneously reading another book which is meritocracy of that sorry Tyr- tyranny of meritocracy, which is it is by a very famous philosopher, Michael Sandel. I don't know, he is the author of the professor who teaches justice at Harvard University. So he talks about
Sure.
how morally this is wrong to actually say uh, कि अगर एक बंदा जिसने जो सक्सेसफुल है, it is only because of himself, ठीक है, or like his own hard work. Although Angela Duckworth and a lot of psychologists and sociologists who study grit actually say that a lot is dependent on grit, but when we talk about social अपनी society की जब हम बात करते हैं, तो हम अगर कोई भी बंदा failure हमें नजर आता है, हम उसको कहते हैं यार you haven't worked hard enough, or
Yes,
you haven't
absolutely.
you haven't been consistent. आप अपनी एफर्ट नहीं
Yes.
पुट कर रहे, आपका स्किल कम है, ठीक है. सो
And if you're successful, you are because you were lucky enough to be
या
successful.
एग्जैक्टली. सो
Because we are jealous of the fact that the other person is successful. So I
yeah,
get it.
so I'll actually call you back to discuss this idea कि किस तरह ये हमारी सोसाइटी में जो the meritocracy which is
Hmm.
very inherent when we discuss grit. ठीक है, जो
Hmm.
meritocracy है, how it leads to actually hubris among the successful people, like
Hmm.
Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos.
Hmm.
ठीक है, just we
Hmm.
saw them through a positive lens आज, ठीक है, but there is a
Hmm.
negative lens to
Sure,
this
sure,
all,
sure,
because
sure,
when
sure.
we talk about Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they think others as nothing, ठीक है, or even
Hmm.
this is very clear by behavior of Mark Zuckerberg. ठीक है, अगर आप उसकी कॉन्फ्रेंस हियरिंग सुने जो उसकी
Hmm.
आफ्टर जो उसका स्कैंडल हुआ था
Hmm.
पूरा, ठीक है, कैम्ब्रिज
Hmm.
एनालिटिका के बाद, तो उसमें यू
Hmm.
विल सी कि he has this hubris about himself कि यार we are
Hmm.
like the people who are successful, we are the intelligent beings, ठीक है, बट
Hmm.
और कि उसने काम किया है, सो ठीक है, तो उसका ये है इस
Hmm.
तरह वो I'll probably have you again to discuss that, but thank you so much.
Sure, sure, sure.
Or one last question before we end the podcast. um मैं हर किसी से पूछता हूँ, सरप्राइज क्वेश्चन होता है, so that people don't come prepared. It is कि आप कोई बुक रिकमेंड कर दें which you like and which you want people to read, an interesting book.
Hmm. Interesting book. Actually, it was very recently that I read a very interesting book. It's actually on culture and social, especially of subcontinent. Actually, it was uh, an American journalist who toured Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka in 1996 to cover the Cricket World Cup. And actually, I'm forgetting the name. Let me actually check it for you a minute, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I can
sure,
sort of
sure.
tell you about its exact name. Like I was, oh yeah, it's War Minus the Shooting by Mike Marksky. It's a very interesting book. It's about his tour to subcontinent during 1996 Cricket World Cup. It's not entirely on cricket. It a lot of shed a lot of light on society, culture, and a lot of problems that exist, and how he sort of viewed the society from an outsider, and provides actually very good insights as a fair observer. So it's a very interesting book.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Osama, for such an enlightening session. We actually learned a lot about grit, and I believe that perseverance or consistency is something that is lacking in myself and a lot of people. And although it is there, but uh, I still I have so many questions I still have in my mind, but due to the length of this podcast, we still went a lot of overtime, I think. So I'd like to thank you for coming to the podcast, and thank you everyone who watched this podcast. Please share, subscribe, and keep supporting Let's Talk Pakistan so that we can grow and bring such more amazing content for you in the future as well. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.